one of those politicians that works very hard has certainly been Jordan Hill-Lewis, who's our mayor in Cape Town. And if you speak to Jordan, he speaks a lot about this concept of divergence, which is that he wants Cape Town, in all its key metrics, in its lived experiences, to diverge from the rest of the country. So how do you see the Western Cape evolving in terms of its importance in South Africa? And obviously I'm going Cape Town, Western Cape, and also globally.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the Western Cape is one of the world's most exciting emerging markets. There is a crowd around here, and I think they're motivated by the right things, and the good guys who talk about the sort of secession of the Cape. And sometimes when people think about that, they think about a sort of formal secession. There'll be a line drawn on a map, and that side will be the sort of wilds, and this side will be the Cape. And I think it's a very dated way to think about divergence, certainly to think about secession. It's not that at all. Simply, given tech, the ability of people to work and move around freely, the Western Cape automatically starts to develop competitive advantages over the rest of the country. If the rest of the country fails very quickly, one consequence will be the dumping of more skills and more capital and more Western global geostrategic interest into the Cape. If the rest of the country recovers and becomes a great success, that will buoy the Cape's own competitiveness and success. So it's very difficult to reach a position if you're based in, you might think I'm surprisingly upbeat on South Africa's prospects, but I'm firmly upbeat on the Western Cape's prospects because they have now diverged to a great extent from that of the rest of the country. And something that's not covered in our press at all, and it's emerging, and you'll certainly see it as a theme over the next 5 to 10 years, is Western democracies are developing, are thinking about the Cape in a new way. They realize, Americans realize, for example, that they probably cannot take on the Chinese Navy in the South China Sea because the Chinese missile batteries on land would wipe out the Americans. So if they want to confront China, they've got to confront it easily, apparently, in just the open ocean. You need to find a global choke point, something like the Malacca Strait, or Hormuz, controlled by the Iranians, or Bab al-Mandab, which is a complete chaos now with the Houthis sort of flying drones all over the place. One of the most important choke points becomes the passage off southern Africa, where shipping traffic, if something goes wrong in Suez or Panama, needs to move between the 50th and 60th parallels. If that passage is allowed to fall to Russian or Chinese influence, so South Africa collapses, we become a Russian proxy state. That would make it possible for China, for example, who would then also be under great Chinese influence, to start to move up Africa's west coast. And a Chinese submarine parked in a pen off the coast of Equatorial Guinea, all of which is in process, places the Chinese submarine closer to New York than if the Chinese had a base in Hawaii. And a little bit late in the game, Western national security thinkers are waking up to realize that the geostrategic real estate around Africa's southern tip and our coastline is some of the most valuable geostrategic real estate in the world, and we cannot allow it to fall, regardless of what happens in the north of the country. And that will greatly buoy, I think, the prospects for the Western Cape. So, and the election trends for the Western Cape, as I showed you earlier, are also a consolidation of DA support. So, and you do have an absolutely amazing mayor in the city and what he's done. I mean, I do know the chap a bit, but I can also tell you flying in, it's unavoidable. Yeah. So, yeah, if you're a Western Cape based, whatever you are, your never be complacent. Don't Don't go home and think it's all fine. That's not, certainly not what I wish to convey.
But the trajectory is...
I wish to convey that the trajectory for the Western Cape is particularly strong.